What do you guys think? You think this looks really cool? I mean, I like it. A haunted house on a pumpkin? Pretty neat. Hey, there it is. I've been looking all over for it. My favorite Halloween hat. So that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's October, and you know what that means. One and only. Multi-voice-a-thon. So, to start out, I like to just relax and enjoy some of the October and the autumn season, and of course help myself with a nice good bag of pumpkin seeds. I mean, I always have a thing for pumpkins, and I always love pumpkin pie and pumpkin spice, and I do love some pumpkin seeds. Really good. Good seeds. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start out for this multi-voice-a-thon. Sometimes they're a little dry. But I'd like to start out this multi-voice-a-thon with a certain anthology movie that I watch, and I really liked it pretty much. And it has a lot of movie directors in it, even though it's all created by one and only John Carpenter. So, the movie I'm going to review to you today is none other than Body Bags. Now, Body Bags is an anthology movie made back around the 90s, and it's hosted by none other than John Carpenter himself. He's supposed to be playing this ghoulish guy who works in the morgue, checking out all the dead bodies, and he hates seeing all the ones that are died from natural causes. He likes to go for a good murder or suicide or something like that. Until all of a sudden he finds a bunch of body bags that has a story in them. So, the first story he's going to start out is called Hair. Now, this one was pretty funny. This one has Stacy Keach. He plays a guy who is getting really fed up of going bald. He hates going bald. He hates losing his hair. And he kept trying to find ways. I mean, try to do a comb over. Try to spray his head. And, of course, his girlfriend's going like, I like you the way you are. You don't need this kind of stuff. And he's still insecure. Until all of a sudden, he meets this doctor who is played by none other by the late, great David Warner. And David Warner, he is a doctor, and not like Doctor Who, like on the Unbound Doctor Who series, but he's a medical doctor who's supposed to help guys have their hair come back. And they asked Stacy Keach, what sort of hairstyle would he like to have? Until they come across the long hair treatment. And then, all of a sudden, this happened. They gave him a transplant, and he finally have a whole lot of hair. Long, flowy hair. And now he feels so happy. He even asked his stylist to give it a little trim because it's getting a little too long. But the stylist was so surprised that this doctor did this to him. And then all of a sudden, he started feeling sick and noticing that he's starting to grow more hair, that he even had hair in his mouth. And even he's starting to grow hair around his cheeks. And he starts to realize that the hair itself is alive. But I'm not spoiling it to the end, folks, because you gotta watch the movie itself to know what's the story with the hair stuff. So, for this one, I am not going to spoil every single ending on every single story throughout the entire show. You got to watch it yourself to get the story. Now, to the next story. This one is called Gas Station. And this one is about a lovely woman played by none other than Alex Dasher. She plays a college student, and she's trying to work for her money to pay her tuition. So she decided to work in a night shift in the gas station. And all of a sudden, there's this guy named Bill who is in charge of the gas station, played by none other than Robert Carradine. I know some of you remember him from the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds, that is. You know, I should review Revenge of the Nerds, you know? And I do got a lot to say about those Revenge of the Nerds movies. But anyway, Robert Carradine left, and all of a sudden she heard the news report that there was a serial killer loose, going around killing people. So now she's getting a little freaked out. And we have a cameo to another movie director, who is just there to get himself a pack of cigarettes. None other than the late, great Wes Craven. The guy who gave us Nightmare on Elm Street and the Scream series. And of course another director cameo, Sam Raimi, who turns out that his name was Bill. So who exactly is Robert Carradine supposed to be? I'm not spoiling anything, folks. Watch it yourself. It has a really good ending. And now let's get to another story called The Eye. This one has Mark Hamill in this movie. Now, Mark Hamill's character, he's playing a guy who's a baseball player, but he's starting to have a problem. I mean, he keeps on focusing, hitting the ball and everything, becoming a really great baseball player, and he gets home to meet his wife, who is played by none other than Twiggy herself. And then all of a sudden, Mark Hamill goes into a car accident, and he loses his eye, so now they had to give him an eye transplant. And ever since he got himself a new eye, he's starting having visions that's kind of making him go crazy. So now he wants to realize, who does this eye belong to? And why do you always keep having visions of a middle-aged woman, a blonde-haired middle-aged woman carrying a cigarette keeps burning him with a cigarette? And why does he always keep seeing bodies in the ground, buried? And of course this one has a director cameo, the late, great, legendary Roger Corman. You know, a lot of people say that I'm kind of like Roger Corman, especially on my audio, because one thing I heard about Roger Corman, he was a movie director who makes movies with how much money he has in his pockets. And he doesn't care if there are B-rated movies or not, they're still great movies that he makes. I wouldn't say that he's a cheapskate. I mean, he's a kind of movie director who makes movies by how much he has in his pockets, and he never goes over budget. Sounds a lot like what I do. When I create my audio, I don't go over budget what I use in my videos. I usually found some really good sounds and such for free. and I make them pretty good. I mean, have you checked my last audio drama of Doctor Who? And I'm working on a brand new one, and this one's going to be a Doctor Who event, so it's going to involve not just me, but other doctors. And for those you're going to ask, yes, Jared Cocaine's going to be there. He'd be playing his doctor once again. But of course, I also have other doctors involved, so stay tuned. But anyway, I cannot spoil this one for you. You just got to watch it yourself. And sorry for keeping this kind of short, but this is pretty much all the story I can say about this episode until I get to the next review. And here's the biggest twist. Now, I can spoil this one for you guys. Turns out that John Carpenter's character, he doesn't work in the morgue. He's already a corpse. He showed up in the morgue and started dressing like a body and started drinking formaldehyde. I mean, formaldehyde and raw meat. But when the two guys who really do work in the morgue, they showed up, he has to lay back in his slab. And the two real morgue guys is none other than Tom Arnold and Tobe Hooper. And some of you remember Tobe Hooper from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. And the funny thing is that even though John Carpenter is just lying there pretending to be dead, he keeps breaking the fourth wall saying, hey, you know what? I like these guys. They crack me up. Even when they're doing an autopsy, he says they crack him up. So they did an autopsy on him, and they started noticing that he has a lot of, his liver is pretty bad, and his stomach is filled with formaldehyde. And of course, Tom Arnold was like, whew, what have you been drinking? Formaldehyde? And of course, Tobe Hooper said, I'm going to go get some coffee. And Tom Arnold said, give me some too. And then they're going to do the brain autopsy. So Tom Arnold said, okay, get ready with the bone saw. And of course, John Carpenter's going like... And of course, Tom Arnold carving through his skull. And that is the end of Body Bags. Now, my opinion, I gotta say, that movie Body Bags did a pretty damn good job. It's just too bad it didn't catch on to make a sequel or anything. Because that's one thing I like more than horror stories. I love horror anthologies. Because I love stories that doesn't take place in the same world. It's always different stories. Because ever since I was a little kid, I grew up watching Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, and Tales from the Dark Side, which I think I should do a review on that one. Huh. Sadly, it's not available, but I do got it on DVD. So, I always love a good horror anthology. Now, all I need is to get myself a leather jacket. Because the last leather jacket I got made me sweat, so I need to wear a thin one. Anyway, this is my review for the day. If some of you enjoy my review of Body Bags, and of course, oh yeah, one joke I forgot to mention. Hey, Mark Hamilton was in that one episode of The Eye. At least the eye doesn't make him go crazy, or else, go crazy and make him act like the Joker. Oh, please, that would be so interesting. Can Batman come out and play? Anyway, if you like this review so far, please leave a comment down below. Hit like and subscribe for more. And I'm the Multi-Voice Reviewer. I remember it so I could jog your memory. And happy Halloween.